A motorway bridge has collapsed over the northern Italian port city of Genoa in what the transport minister says is likely to be an immense tragedy. Officials said that at least 10 people have been killed. Local fire brigade says that the bridge collapsed around 11:30 am local time following torrential rainfall. The collapsed bridge was built on a tall motorway in 1960s. Restructuring work on the bridge was carried out 2 years ago. Witnesses say up to 20 vehicles were on the bridge when it collapsed. In what it is said was an apocalyptic scene, Italian motorway operators Autostradé says that works were underway to strengthen the underlying road structure of the bridge. After pulling back from eastern city of Ghazni, Taliban terrorists have overran a military base in northern Afghanistan, killing at least 17 soldiers and wounding 19 others. According to official Taliban, terrorists have also captured dozens of Afghan army soldiers after more than 2 days of fighting in Ghormakh district of Faryab province. The terrorist attack began on Sunday at the Chinaya army base in the Faryab. The terrorists also captured tanks and ammunition. Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, Taliban has withdrawn from a number of areas in Ghazni province after setting government buildings on fire. Local residents said that the battle is now centered around Asfanda, Nogihi and Khogiani district on the outskirts of the city. According to reports, 100 bodies have been shifted to Ghazni's regional hospital and over 200 people were being treated for injuries.
با تدبیری که اتخاذ شده ما به جرأت تمام گفته میتونم که طی 24 ساعت آینده انشالله در وضعیت تغییر قابل ملاحظه خواهد آمد. 194 نفر دشمن به شمول 12 نفر قماندانان کلیدی از اونا که اتباع خارجی هم در اونا شامل پاکستانی و عرب و چچن شامل است کشته شده و 147 نفر از دشمن مجروح شده.
Two villages on the Greek island of Evia were evacuated as a forest fire fanned by strong winds raged on. Evacuation was ordered in the region around Greek capital of Athens as a precautionary measure. The wildfire near Athens had killed 94 people last month. The blaze prompted Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras to replace the Civil Protection Minister, and the head of the fire bridge and the police Tsipras announced the demolition of thousands of illegal buildings in response to death of people who were unable to escape from heavily crowded housing blocks. Another wildfire breaks out in San Diego in the United States, forcing the closure of a country highway facing the city's Zoo Safari Park. It was unclear what sparked the fire, but hours of fire within starting, it grew into covering 40 acres of land. The blaze forced forest officials to evacuate people from their homes and led to a closure of a nearby zoological attraction. The latest fire is the third one to break out in the same area in the past month. Rainfall has wreaked havoc in India's north as well. At least 16 people have been killed in rain-related incidents in Himachal Pradesh state. The rain-triggered landslides have forced 6 national highways, including the Chandigarh-Shimla route, to shut down, leaving hundreds of tourists stranded. The bad weather has also brought rail network in the hill state to a standstill. The state government is taking no risk and has announced a package of nearly 96.5 crore rupees for flood relief. Meanwhile, all schools and colleges remain shut in the state. Rain-triggered floods have claimed 39 lives and left more than 50,000 people homeless in the southern Indian state of Kerala. The devastating floods have destroyed property worth $1.2 billion. 40 out of the coastal state of Kerala, as 44 odd rivers have swelled up due to downpour. The floods have disrupted daily lives, with many people evacuated to makeshift shelters built by the government. It was on the day in the year 1945 that Japan accepted defeat in the Second World War. Since then, Japan has issued several apologies for its war crime, except for one-on-one issue of the comfort women. South Korea marked the first Comfort Day Women Today, honoring the women who first spoke out about their treatment in the military brothels during Japanese colonial rule. Comfort women is a euphemism for tens of thousands of women who were forced into sexual slavery by the Imperial Japanese Army between 32 and 45. The women came from all over Japan's occupied territories in Southeast Asia, but majority were Koreans or Chinese. August 14 has been designated the day to remember the so-called comfort women, as on this day in 1991, Kim Hak-sun became the first victim to officially testify about the military brothels she had been forced to work in. Meanwhile, several protesters took to the street in Taipei and Taiwan demanding Japan to apologize to the surviving comfort women. Over the years, Japanese government has issued several statements which have criticized as partial apologies for surviving comfort women. In 2016, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe issued a statement regarding South Korean comfort women, but the apparent the apology was deemed too weak and was criticized on the ground that it was motivated by a military deal between South Korea and Japan. Most importantly, apology was missing one thing: the acceptance that the Japanese state was not only aware about the so-called comfort station but actively sponsored them. It has been 73 years since the end of the Second World War. Many comfort women died without closure, and the surviving few don't have much time left. And I'm joined by Oliver Viens, correspondent from Seoul. Oliver, thank you so much for joining us. What is the reaction on this issue? Because the whole, I would say, the debate on or the animosity which stems from the fact that women were forced into sexual slavery during war is not new. But what makes it current today?
Well, what makes it current today is that here in South Korea, the Me Too movement is really gathering pace. Only today, we've seen the case of a politician who was acquitted of charges that had been levelled against him. At the same time, there was another case in front of the court. And so this is really galvanised people to think about what those women went through decades ago when Japan had colonized countries like South Korea and forced some of the 240 cases that we're aware of South Korean women who were forced into this sex work in military-sanctioned brothels. So people here still haven't forgotten what is going on, especially when you think about that Me Too movement, which is going around the world, but here in South Korea it really is gaining pace.
But then, Oliver, the context was the Shinzo Abe's comment, which came out in 2016, and people said it's out of a military deal. But can we say the matter, if not resolved, has reached a point of time where people are okay with a historical issue which actually involved thousands of women and thousands of families and created its own history in the Asian continent?
I don't think people are quite finished with this here in South Korea, especially because of the point where the Japanese embassy sits, there is actually a memorial to comfort women, which is right outside, a small statuette. And that had been agreed under the last administration, the Park Geun-hye government, to be removed because Japan was getting increasingly angered over the fact that this was there. Now, that statue is still there. People still protest about the treatment of comfort women. And yet, Moon Jae-in, the current president, has continued to criticize Japan about the issue of comfort women. It was something that the 2015 deal was meant to have stopped. Japan offering almost $9 million to the South Korean government in return for the South Korean government not criticizing Japan anymore. However, Moon Jae-in has sought to try and distance himself from the actions of Park Geun-hye and says that these are still crimes against humanity, something which really angers Japan. And he says that there needs to be more work done. But at the same time, in January, he gave up on an offer to renegotiate that deal, which he doesn't think is substantial enough. And in comments that he made today at the unveiling of a memorial park in one part of South Korea, he said that he hopes that his actions do not spark a diplomatic spat with Japan, but he doesn't believe that diplomatic action will solve anything. He also said that it's really, in essence, time for people to move on and to ensure that the crimes of the past cannot be committed into the future. So he finds himself in quite a bind here. And the reason is Moon Jae-in has got quite a lot of things on his plate at the moment. Number one, North Korea and the issues that are going on around there. He's then got regional allies that he has to please, such as the United States. And the United States is a key ally of both Japan and South Korea. So taking up this issue at the minute would be far too difficult a thing to do when he already has multiple fires burning as well as a drop in his approval ratings. And so He's trying his best to please everybody, but some people will still be left disappointed by the fact that the South Korean government hasn't tried to renegotiate that deal.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you so much for joining us from Seoul. And the US Defense Bill 2019 has also granted India an exemption from sanction if it buys military equipment from Russia. The waiver to India comes after US amended the Combating America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, which seeks to punish Russia for 2016 election meddling. The defense spending legislation will allow India to buy S-400 missile defense systems from Russia without the fear of sanctions. According to reports, the new waiver is based on conditions, most of which are met by India. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has rejected US President Donald Trump's offer of unconditional talks to improve bilateral ties. Iranian officials have already rejected the offer, but it is the first time Khamenei has publicly commented. US had said Iran's only chance of avoiding the sanctions would be to accept Trump's offer to negotiate for a tougher nuclear deal. Washington reimposed the sanction last week after pulling out of a 2015 nuclear deal aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear program. The sanctions target Iran's trade in gold and other precious metals, its purchase of US dollars and its car industry.
اگر چنانچه یه وقتی هم بر فرض محال قرار بود دولت جمهوری اسلامی با رژیم آمریکا مذاکره هم بکنه، با این دولت کنونی آمریکا هرگز مذاکره نمیکنه. همه بدونن، هم سیاستمدارای ما، دیپلمات‌های ما، هم جوانهای پرانگیزه ما، هم دانشجویان رشته‌های سیاسی ما، هم فعالان میدان سیاست، همه بدونن مذاکره با رژیم زورگو و پرتوقعی مثل آمریکا وسیله‌ای برای رفع دشمنی نیست. مذاکره وسیله‌ای برای رفع دشمنی آمریکا نیست، بلکه مذاکره ابزاری در دست او برای اعمال دشمنی است.
Meanwhile, defying US demands to curb its missile program, Iran unveiled a new generation of short-range ballistic missiles. Iranian Defense Minister Amir Hatami described the new version of the Fateh Mobin as 100% domestically made, agile, stealth and precision-guided. A man in America's Utah state crashed a stolen plane into his own home after a fight with his wife. Now, Joan Yud flew the Cessna 525 small jet into his house after stealing it from a company he worked for. He died on the spot while his wife and a teenager inside the home were able to escape to safety. A video taken after the crash showed the entire house engulfed in high raging flames. Police said it was miraculous that more people were not hurt. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the incident and was expected to issue a report within a week. A 14-year-old schoolboy in the United States has decided to take a path less trodden by attempting to run for governor. Ethan Sonnenborn is taking advantage of a quirk in the constitution of the northeastern state of Vermont that imposes no age limit of running for governor. Candidates only have to have lived in Vermont for at least 4 years. Ethan has lived in Vermont all his life and hence qualifies as a potential candidate. His website proclaims that he is a champion for middle and working class families with the right ideas on healthcare, reform, economic development, and education, and that he identifies with the progressive wing of the Democratic Party.
I think my campaign transcends age. I want people to think of me as a pragmatic progressive who happens to be 14. I can't drive. That's pretty much the biggest one, especially now that it's summer. I had a combination of frustration with politics as usual, and it kind of, it reached a boiling point after Charlottesville. I think his leadership style is either obstructionist or it's too easygoing. Their perspective is about issues that affect them. My perspective is about issues that affect me.
India's first line of defense is BSF, the Border Security Force. Come rain, hail or sun, they do not deter from doing their duty. On guard, always ready to take on the enemy. Pakistani army aids infiltration of terrorists into the Indian side, and the thrust is stronger right before India celebrates its Independence Day. But India's BSF soldiers stand tall to thwart any such attempt to unleash terror.
Pakistan has been waging a proxy war against India by aiding terrorists infiltrate from the border. Several terror launch pads are active across the border, where terrorists are waiting to launch an attack. They are especially active near the Chenab River, where the Pakistani post is close to the border. But India's border security force is on high alert.
Right now we are standing just beside the banks of mighty river Chenab, where the Pakistan post is just in front of us.
India's border security force is keeping a tight vigil 24/7 to ensure no terrorist sneaks into the Indian territory, patrolling the waters of the mighty Chenab.
Be it a land or some desert or this mighty Chenab river, our brave BSF jawans are always ready to face any challenge. Right now BSF is patrolling in this mighty Chenab river, as there are reports that some militants across the border in launching pads waiting to sneak into this side to disturb the peaceful situation. But these vigilant BSF jawans are ready to foil any mischievous attempt by the enemy.
The challenge is immense. Patrolling land and water in the dead of the night is a task, but these soldiers are resolute.
पेट्रोलिंग हमारा टाइमिंग ही नहीं होता कुछ भी, किसी भी टाइम जैसे ही हमें अलर्ट पुकारा जाता है, जैसे ही डाउट होता है कि यहाँ कुछ हलचल है, उसी टाइम हम अपनी पेट्रोलिंग लेकर निकलते हैं। और इसके अलावा भी हम यहाँ 24 घंटे अपनी सेवा में उपलब्ध रहते हैं। जैसे ही हमें कुछ सूचना मिलती है हम तुरंत एक्शन करते हैं।
चेनाब नदी के अंदर पेट्रोलिंग, जब भी हमारे को कोई शक होता है उसी वक्त हम पेट्रोलिंग करते हैं और बॉर्डर पे अपनी बॉर्डर की भी रक्षा करते हैं।
The border security force is India's first line of defense, guarding the international border between India and Pakistan.
हम यहाँ पे दिन रात 24 घंटा अपनी तरफ से पूरी अलर्ट ड्यूटी करते हैं। इन केस कोई हाई अलर्ट का मैसेज आता है तो उस टाइम हम और ज़्यादा चौकसी बढ़ा देते हैं, ड्यूटी हम बढ़ा देते हैं। पेट्रोलिंग ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जितनी हो सकती है उतनी ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हम पेट्रोलिंग करते हैं ताकि हम अलर्ट रहें और सुरक्षित रहें।
Only recently, a fierce gun battle raged on in Baramulla in Jammu and Kashmir, where Indian troops gunned down at least 5 terrorists. Over the last few months, terrorists have made repeated attempts to enter India and unleash terror. But Indian troops have come down hard on them and thwarted every such attempt. Bureau Report, WION.